welcome to the House of ZK Radio, which is a focused podcast and media channel exploring everything ZK, zero knowledge. I'm Alice, education lead at ZKM. Today I'm joined here with co-host Pavel, who's DevRel lead at ZKM, and our very special guest, Ines, who's CEO of txFusion. Very excited to have you here today, Ines.
I'm very excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm wondering, Ines, if we could first start off with you introducing yourself. So maybe your story on your journey into the Web3 and specifically like the ZK space as well.
Okay. So I would say maybe for the start, I was not really very early, let's say the early joiner of Web3 and blockchain. I was always drawn to innovation and entrepreneurship, and had led few startups and was part of the few startups in different roles. But at the time when I found out about blockchain, I was actually living and working in India, in a company called TCS. I was there a part of the resource management team, and by eating too many spices, I ended up in a hospital somehow. And at the time, I needed my medical records, but they didn't want to send it from my country. And I was like, but these are my medical records, how I cannot get them, etc. So at the time, then I understood that even though these are my medical records, if I don't strictly go to a specific office, to a specific person, don't give specific papers, I do not actually have rights to my own medical history. And that kind of really bugged me at the time. So that's how actually my fascination with Web3 started. Then I started digging into decentralization and what are the potential of it, and understood that it holds like a capacity to reshape the entire industries, not only in my case, like the health industry, that what I was interested in and what I was looking solution for, but rather like the entire industries. And then after funding a few successful blockchain companies and working with a few different ecosystems like Near, like Polygon, like Starkware, etc., I moved into building products and working with ZK Sync, mostly because I saw ZK Sync like as a technology truly, let's say, inspirational and able to transform the industry, and at the same time to provide kind of a scalability. That was something that until today is bugging me, like we cannot scale, and there is a scaling issue, and there is also this decentralization and the privacy issue, right? So that kind of goes hand in hand. So these were kind of my startups and a bit about myself. And of course, on the journey joining ZK Sync, I founded txFusion, and from there on, now it's a bit of history. It's already 2.5 years, and we are running strong.
Yeah, great. And really love the story that you had with your issue before with the medical records, not having a right to even your own medical history. And I feel like that lack of ownership can apply to so many other things today, like how we're not able to own our own assets, and the centralized banks.
It's very humiliating, actually, when you don't have
exactly.
your medical history. At the time, I understood it's very humiliating. Like I don't know, like my own medical history. And I don't have right to it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people also have that problem. Like even for myself, I have to go through so many hoops and hurdles and different kinds of clinics and doctors just to get some sort of my own medical history. So it's
especially if you're moving around or you're a nomad, or like in today's time we all work remotely, etc. So that's
definitely, it's definitely very challenging, but really good that you're able to apply a problem that you see in your life into what you're working on today. I think that's really great. And my next question, I'm wondering a bit about some of your core values within like ZK and the general blockchain space. So you mentioned that you were looking, well, you found ZK Sync as a hub to provide like scalability, and then you were also speaking about like priorities and like decentralization, privacy. I'm wondering if there's any additional values you prioritize in the space, in addition to like scalability, decentralization, privacy, maybe cost efficiency, or what do you think are the most important values that we should focus on in the space, and also what you're currently addressing?
Maybe I can go there by order. Decentralization, cost efficiency, and at the end, privacy. I do believe that decentralization is the key to kind of fair and resilient systems. At the moment, I do not think that there is ecosystem that really holds this. Cost efficiency should make technology accessible to everyone. Anyone should be able to build stuff on blockchain. Like today, you need, I don't know, around $50 to go and put a full-scale website on, like live, like with the content and the templates, etc. I think it should be the same with the blockchain. And last but not least is right, privacy. Uh, I think we speak a lot in the space about the privacy, and definitely privacy is something that we all gonna be needing more and more, I think, in the future, especially now when we see where we see how the world is going towards certain topics. If we see online, it's everyone has a couple of profiles, everyone are hiding behind some names, everyone are trying to create this space of digital identities, etc. And I think they're just a small bit of it. Like I think that privacy is still a long road, but I think decentralization and cost efficiency is definitely way closer, and it's a way that we should kind of push more forward in the next 2 years.
Yeah, definitely agree. And it's great that you're focusing on all of these three properties. There's a lot of projects that focus on one, but in focusing on one, you kind of sacrifice the other two, the other or however many that you're optimizing for. So it's really great to see that you're trying to optimize for all, like for decentralization, cost efficiency, for privacy. And I hope that we can get to that stage soon where all of those properties can be optimized. And I'm also wondering about just scoping out a bit about your general vision for the ZK space. So what's your broad vision for the space? What do you see as the end goal? And maybe you could also speak about how you see the space evolving in the next few years.
I think it's about building trustless ecosystem that empowers globally people. Without compromising security or user experience. Simple as that. Empower people to build, empower people to grow, empower people to build businesses, provide them trusted systems, provide them space and environment where they can build in few clicks, to not too complicated, right? It's so super complicated now at the moment. You need a private key, then you need a signature, then you need, oh wow, it doesn't work, so let's go again, then you have to know what is the gas fee, etc. I think all this is still just kind of a noise. And in blockchain, like I think in Web3 space, we are not really able to push the noise further and actually see the point of what is actually needed, right? We are very much stuck yet in the technology, and very much focused on the noise instead of what is behind this noise and what is the future needs. That's why let's say in many aspects I like ZK Sync. Look at what ZK Sync is doing now with the government in Argentina and with the IDs. I mean, that's a future where we are heading, right? That's kind of really building this trusted system and empowering. Oh, sorry, and empowering like people to globally to basically use blockchain and have awesome user experience.
I definitely agree. And I also really resonated with the part about the focus on building trustless systems, because right now the status quo is that we put trust in these major companies to do some sort of execution or compute for us. But there's really no way to verify what's going on behind the scenes. So definitely building trustless systems is something that I think all of us should, prioritize on. And also really liked the point that you made on focusing on what's behind the noise. So even though there's like small nuances, small challenges in the forefront, we should really focus on what's happening in the back there. And on the topic of like ZK IDs as well, really excited to see those kinds of real world applications come to life. Like before, ZK was just a concept, and now we can see it apply in so many different ways, and hopefully in our everyday lives too. Just on that topic, are there any other use cases for ZK that you're really excited about?
I mean, that's one of them. Another ones are like payment systems. Like I think we spoke a lot, if you're following us in the recent weeks, about Paymaster, right? But then we launched the Paymaster this year, and everything is going good. We have users and stuff, and then we realized the users should actually not know what is a Paymaster, right? Most of people, when they send mails, they don't know what's the technology behind sending mails, and I think that's something that ZK Sync is providing, especially with the new upgrades. And I think in the next few months we are gonna be seeing way more than what we're seeing now, and I think users will love it, especially because ZK Sync is very much focusing on the user experience. We are also excited, as someone who is building on ZK Sync, that we can have let's say some of those things available on the protocol level. Of course, if you have it on the protocol level, life is way much easier for any product builder in the ecosystem. So that would be it, why I'm so excited when it comes to ZK Sync. But I think in many aspects, like ZK Sync is focusing mostly on user experience, making it simple. So simplicity is there, and they're focusing on secure technology. That's something that I think are the biggest winners for me when it comes to why ZK Sync.
Yeah, great. And also just following up on that, in just the general ZK space, what do you see as the most pressing issues that are preventing, say, greater mainstream adoption, or preventing these real world applications to be set in stone? And yeah, what do you think are the greatest challenges and problems that our industry currently faces, and how do you plan on addressing those kinds of challenges?
I think one of the biggest challenges now in the Web3 is actually being motivated, staying motivated. As we know, bear market is quite long. And I can see in your smiles as well that the awareness of it is quite obvious. So I think being motivated and actually staying in this motivation of building, believing in what you do, it's one of the challenges. The other challenge is definitely building projects and products that are cost efficient. Everyone want be the first and build stuff in house, and we're wasting a lot of money and resources, not just money, like a lot of other resources as well, in building stuff that already exists, or building stuff in house that you can just maybe cooperate with someone and pay a subscription or something. I mean, that's how Web2 works, right? In Web3, that's still a new concept, so I think that's one of the challenges. And another one is, at least in my opinion, it's marketing. I think it's awesome that we have all these platforms where we can market stuff and we can talk about things, Um, but what I'm seeing for myself in most of the cases, 90% of things that are said online or written online are noise, or they do not exist, or they're very well, let's say, framed and published out there, right? So who has the money to, let's say, more money to push better marketing, to push better narratives, is basically winning the space, not necessarily the quality. That's something that we saw in the last few months. Uh, how are we addressing those issues? Was that the second part?
Yep.
Yeah. Uh, when it comes to motivation, I think for us, it's the potential impact that we can build, right? With txFusion, we founded a company called txSync, where we're building these tools that are on click, right? So the potential in there is to, again, kind of work on solving one of the issues, and that's cost saving, right? Not necessarily everyone have to build automation tools or paymasters or chains, etc. So our way of giving back and staying motivated is actually solving the issues that Web3 has. Definitely, that's not an easy thing to do, but when you have a team that's purpose driven, uh, the things are way easier. So I think that's one of the ways we are working on it. When it comes to being cost efficient, again, we try with our products to really cut all the unnecessary, let's say, spendings or talent, any kind of resources. Really, we do not have a lot of subscriptions on our like as a company. We are really behaving as a startup, and we are growing as a startup. So we manage kind of to boost the company in the bear markets from zero to what we are today. Today we are 36 people. So that's in our eyes at least kind of an achievement, not an easy one. There were a lot of challenges, but still we are really cautious when it comes to being cost effective. When it comes to marketing, that's the thing. I think that we are not really how to say very actively pursuing. We do have a marketing team, we do work, but still we do believe what we say that we have what we say that we can do, we do, and that I kind of still am not ready to go beyond that. Just say we are building this and that, and in fact we're gonna be building it in 6 months to 12 months, right? That's still not kind of our strategy. I prefer still that we as a startup are true to our own word and what we say we do. So let's say the third one we are not really addressing super strong, but that's a strategy in a way also on its own. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So also just a follow-up question. So I know that you're building for the ZK Sync ecosystem, and then specifically you're looking at the paymasters and the lower level infrastructure that would be used by the developers as well as users. Do you have plans at expanding to other EVM based ecosystems or non-EVM based ecosystems? And like where do you see that being the trajectory, or do you plan on staying with ZK Sync and then continuing to build out very efficient infrastructure that is provides that utility to ecosystem users?
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely, we do plan. Why we started with ZK we saw that the logic is the best. We saw somehow that we can build the fastest in there, and we can learn a lot. But this is not where we are stopping. At the moment, we do work with other ecosystems as well, but not that publicly yet. But in the future, we do plan that everything that we do on ZK Sync, that we will do on the other ecosystems as well. And we do believe in the world where it's not really gonna matter, like in which ecosystem you're building. All of them, they should work seamlessly with each other, right? The only I think difference is gonna be that someone's gonna know, hey, this internet provider is better, right? That's gonna be the same with the Altos, at least how I'm seeing it at this point. That should be kind of a level of difference, right? A matter of personal preferences, a matter of personal, let's say, motivations why you would go to one or to the other one. But eventually, I think we should actually find the ways to work together and build everything on every ecosystem instead of having these very loud or sometimes silent wars between L2s.
Yeah, absolutely. And really liked how you mentioned that in the future you see these ecosystems that should be able to work seamlessly with each other. That interoperability aspect is, I think, a lot of focuses even for ZKM and for a lot of projects as well. And I do like how you also mentioned we should find ways to cooperate instead of compete. We shouldn't be competing to be like the best ecosystem, the best chain, the best ZK project. Instead, I feel like we should, like for all the projects in this space, we should specialize in a specific problem area and then work together to make it like as a coherent whole. So really like that cooperation kind of value that you brought up. And also back to the topic of challenges, I did want to mention that I do appreciate you also mentioning like motivation, building products that are cost efficient, the marketing aspects as key challenges, because those are not just applicable to just like the ZK or Web3 space projects. Those I think are applicable to any kind of startup that's building. So really resonated with that as well. But on the topic of challenges, and you also mentioned briefly a bit about the why for ZK Sync, which focuses, you said, on a lot on user experience and security. I'm wondering, in terms of challenges specifically for developers, if you could discuss a bit about their pain points in the general like ZK ecosystems and how those challenges impact development as well as create barriers for adoption. So maybe just like stages of the development experience and also the user experience, the main pain points over there.
Do you know the stages of grief?
Yeah, the 5 stages of grief. Yeah.
That's, I think, how the blockchain is going in a way, in a similar way. But joke a bit on a side. I think that as a human race, like we do have a tendency to compete. We have a tendency to be first. We have a tendency, to be the winner. We need this purpose. We need this driver. We need this ego, right? And I think, from my perspective, seeing ego is a killer in the blockchain. Like many people would say, no, it's not. And I actually had some motivational speeches when people would try to convince me that, that the ego is actually the driver. But I do think that ego is the killer in of many projects, of many developments. And we're not able to see it, especially in the industry that is, this is gonna hurt a lot, so man dominated, right? It's a natural, it's a natural kind of way of handling the industry, handling the startups, handling the businesses, right? Recently I was listening an interview from ex-Google CEO, and he was saying, but startups needs to work like 24/7. You have to be available morning, day, and night and stuff. I think that today's generations are differently built. They do respect their own time. They pay a lot of attention on the mental health. They pay a lot of attention on their physical health and stuff. Which let's say to me that I'm a bit older than these newer generations, right? It's actually a very nice lesson to see. Like when I was in 20s, and I never thought about it. It was just grinding and just working and trying, to create something and to build something and stuff. This is what I'm actually seeing within developers. The younger generations are hey, I want to learn, give me space and give me time. This is going to be a frame, the time frame. This is going to be the process. I'm going to learn and I'm going to deliver, right? And they're actually learning and delivering very fast. With a bit older generations, they do have a lot of knowledge and stuff, but they're not that easy to adapt. And that's kind of where we clash in blockchain. Like, we do have a lot of, let's say, boomers generations that are leading the things. I don't know how else to frame it. I don't want to insult anyone. But say we have the ones that are more experienced and spend more time, let's say, in the in technology, and they do bring great value that the younger generations do not have. And I think the combo of those two is something that makes blockchain successful. That the blockchain is why blockchain is still today here. Like, if we see that there is a literally, we're at the times where they mix so much, these two generations, and actually the last few years are all about user experience. They're all about progressing in a slower path. They're really about thinking why we are doing what we are doing, like how we are doing it, not just let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. If you see now, in the past 2 years, there were hacks. I'm not saying that they were not hacks, but we have way less hacks than we had from 2017 to I don't know, 2021. Like, if you see the last 2 years compared to these 4 or 5 years, they're way less hacks. So I'm not sure if I answer your question, but definitely I think that this mix of development, this mix of experiences, this mix of understandings is the only way that we progress further. If I understood it right and answered your question.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, I feel like also, even in other industries, we see younger generations who are eager to learn but may not have as much experience or knowledge, whereas the older generations, they're more experienced, they're more knowledgeable, but they don't really have that excitement anymore for some people for learning compared to younger generations, especially when you're right out of school. So definitely see that a lot in both like ZK and also in other industries as well. But on the topic for like developers, I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about their needs. So what do developers really need to build these ZK applications, and maybe what's currently lacking in present tooling? So I know for like txSync provides a lot of tools for building on the ZK Sync ecosystem. I'm wondering if you could speak about like adding those layers of abstractions to simplify the developer onboarding, if there's any like trade-offs to consider, the advantages in doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that education is definitely the most important. I do not think that we have enough education in the space. With education comes this as well patience for people that are onboarded on any ecosystem. They would need to have at least a month to understand what this ecosystem is about, to understand some core differences with the other ecosystems. We usually call this period onboarding period, but it's actually research and development, where at the time when they join us in the first month, they would just dig deep into the ecosystem. They would already start building something on their own. They would rather play around than being actually useful to the company. It's more be useful to yourself, understand, because if I know that you understand, that we can speak on the same terms, that we have on the same level understanding of the ecosystem, then we can actually work together. If we do not give the developers this time, I think in this extremely super fast evolving environment and ecosystems, if we don't give people time to understand, we're gonna make mistakes that we might later not be able to fix, right? Or we're gonna spend again a lot of resources on fixing them. And in the spirit of that, that's how we came up with the own idea of txSync, of actually building stuff that you would be able to basically install in few clicks, that you would be able to deploy them in few clicks, and that you don't necessarily need to know that it's blockchain, right? That's kind of our end goal with txSync. That at the time when, I don't know if you actually know, but at the time when WordPress was coming, like everyone would go and kind of drag and drop and like put some plugins and create some shops and stuff, and then kind of it evolved into buying themes like I think it's Envato, and then you go and buy the whole theme, and then you just poof, you have a website like in 2 minutes, and then again you go and just put some plugins and stuff, and then you have really a website that's fully functional, has its store, you have admin accounts, you have user accounts, etc. within an hour. So I think that's something that we should strive for in blockchain, and that to the developers applies the same. It's not about just the user, because the developers are the users, and we should maybe focus more on teaching developers to think about what the user needs and to build more of these tools that eventually is going to help the end user, rather than overcomplicating stuff, right? Because at this point we really like to overcomplicate stuff, like and I think that this is the very important step, because if developers are learning to build stuff that's going to help onboard users faster, we can start onboarding people from Web2 that are specialists in whatever, that can actually, and they will come and start building products on blockchain that actually have use cases. I mean, imagine that you have a dentist on blockchain, and that whatever dentist does to you, that you have on your medical card, and that whatever, you have a timestamp to that 10 years. If you go to fix your tooth, you can go and see what exactly did you put out there and what materials did you use, if you get some merge, etc. So anywhere in the world, right? So these are kind of things that we should, I think, be focusing on. But before we reach this stage, we really need to give this space the same to developers. We are expecting from developers to be ChatGPT. I don't know. It's just I saw some really ridiculous job postings when you expect from a developer to be, I don't know, front end, back end, full stack, DevOps. I mean, these are then ChatGPT human beings, and that they should know, a lot of things. Which, let's be honest, nobody knows everything, and it's we are way better if we focus on something and learn something specific. We can have broad experiences of something, and we can have broad understanding of the things, not necessarily expertise in everything. And I think that's something that is a very big challenge for developers in blockchain, and something that we should pay attention to.
Mhm. I like how you describe a very pragmatic approach to building these tools and software, that you let the developers have their own space and be able to come up with the ideas and the tools that they would use because you're essentially building for the end user, and the end user is the people that are actually using the software and then using the tools as well. So having them have that freedom, but also having them work on specific problems and having that pragmatic approach, I think leads to better overall results, rather than that ChatGPT-esque, like, hey, do this and do this because I told you to. No, do this because it's useful for the ecosystem, and because you see that this tool would provide value by implementing it.
In txFusion, we also do not have really, let's say, this tough approach of leaders and managers, and like I don't like that we to go and tell people do this or do that. And I think we created a culture of people where people would come and tell us, hey, I don't think so, we should do this, or I don't think so, we should do that, or this project is wasting resources, this can be done easier. So we're quite transparent. We have more teams in the company, we have more projects we are working on. Not necessarily all of them are connected. In most of the cases they are not connected, but transparency helps a lot, that we actually get feedback from other teams, and that's amazing to see. I mean, not necessarily, again, I have expertise in everything, neither the 3 other guys that I'm running the company with, we do not have expertise in everything, right? But it's very nice actually to see that people we work with, that they would come and give us feedback and very straightforward tell us, hey, this is not the direction, let's think about another way. Like, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? So this proactive approach of saying, hey, though, this does not work, but this might work, or this might work, or the other thing might work, it's very appreciated, I think. And we have not seen this much in the space. Even if you don't have necessarily the solution, people do come and tell us, hey, I do not think that this is the approach. I do not really have the right solution, but let's have a brainstorming session. So I think that's the way to build startups in blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. And even your point previously about the focus, or there should be a greater focus on education, I think is really applicable to any project. I mean, that's Pavel and I's, like, our main focus as well. Just being able to simplify the developer and user experience as much as possible, and having them really emphasizing how to build applications versus all the underlying cryptographic nuances behind ZK, which is not really needed for developers to develop. So really, like what you said, Ines, of like teaching your developers what users need to build tools rather than overcomplicating and focusing on those very like small technical details, those small nuances. And also your point on providing developers with that space to explore, and just giving them the tools to for them to be guided in, I think is really important as well. So I really appreciate you for mentioning those points. I'm wondering if you could also mention to the audience like the difference between txFusion and txSync. I think that's a question that may come up. The differences between the two, and what specific tools are offered in each.
Yeah, okay. So txFusion was built with an idea of an umbrella, right? That kind of inspiration a lot comes from TCS companies. So Tata Consultancy, they do Tata companies, I don't know. They have, I think, 17, 18, 19 companies under them. And all of them, they kind of work independently. And by working in them, I realized something, that not necessarily every founder in the blockchain space that has tech knowledge has business knowledge or knows how to run the company. In most of the cases, they would have challenges of running and picking up the teams, or making the sales strategies, etc. And that's okay. As I previously mentioned, we cannot be experts in everything, right? So txFusion was founded with this idea of being an umbrella and creating products, creating companies under this umbrella for a sake purpose of helping each other, right? So in this case, we do have 3 teams, right? And one is txSync, that is the most widely known, but we do have another 2 as well. One is more focused on research and development, working on the other ecosystems, doing more protocol stuff, etc. And one is dedicated to txSync. All of them are independently working on their own things, but then when they come together, they can use the expertise, as I mentioned earlier. Like then they have this ecosystem where they can talk to each other and advise each other, and actually kind of cut costs and resources and time in building stuff. And that was the idea of txFusion. That's how txSync kind of was born as a daughter company of txFusion.
Yeah, that's great, and I love the initiative behind it and the vision behind it as well, about like having this umbrella, and within that umbrella having companies that are able to collaborate with each other and cooperate, like giving feedback, discussions, advice, and instead of having like all of these separate siloed companies, instead having companies that are able to integrate and able to work with each other, I think is very valuable, and something that we should focus more on the industry as a whole. So
That
really
knowledge sharing. aspect is I think very critical, as well as you said, the costs of essentially doing new work or trying to build these new tools versus utilizing existing solutions and utilizing the knowledge that other people have, and then everything is essentially built off of the tools that were previously built, and then we're just essentially finding optimizations for those things. So I
Yes,
think that that aspect of having a close team working together, and then having a culture where information sharing is key, I think that that definitely leads to a good successful projects essentially being built on top of that vision.
I hope so. There are also very heavy moments, you have to know. Like sometimes we come up with an idea on TechSync and we present it to the rest, and they say, no, we would not use this. So but instead of spending months on building it and testing it out and seeing that it would not be used, you actually spend 2-3 days to build an idea, to build an MVP potentially, and then you get the first feedback that, hey, this will not be used. But so it has also these challenges as well. But it is nice, and again, cost saving. It's something that's we really pay attention to.
Yeah, definitely. And just going off of that, I'm wondering, what are your kind of tips or strategies in building and maintaining a successful team and fostering that collaboration mindset, especially in these fast evolving environments where like new tech is being developed every day, and you mentioned there are some challenges, sometimes disagreements come up. So I'm wondering, based on your experience being a multi-time founder, what are your best ways in building and maintaining a successful collaborative team?
I think the number, there are kind of 3 points that I really pay attention to. One is transparency. I'm super transparent with everyone I work. Another thing is shared sense of ownership. Everyone that works with us are owning something in the company, and are in a way building stuff, and they feel this shared sense of ownership. And the third one is a clear mission. Not necessarily we always have the clear mission. It changes from time to time. We see, hey, it doesn't work like this. We have to adapt to the market. We have to be more flexible, etc. But by having this really transparency and open communication, that brings a lot of mutual, how to say, respect towards each other. And that I think it's a pillar of success of any team. When people see that you have their back, even in the worst of the times, when they see that you're transparent, that you're communicating very openly and very directly, even though directly can sometimes hurt. But I think learning to communicate in this way, it really sets up very strong pillars of success. And that's kind of what I'm focusing on the most. Again, saying I don't have always the clearest mission or vision. Usually very unclear on what we want to do next, right? But having this transparency and strong sense of ownership is definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always think that. Yeah, I always think it's better to be brutally honest but respectful, rather than to just sugarcoat and be polite, because sometimes actually all the time it's better to just be very upfront with these are the problems that we have, this is what should be addressed, here's some ways to address them. I think that's the best way to innovate. And also, yeah, with your point on kind of having a shared sense of ownership and then having a clear unified mission. I also agree that even though that may change over time based on feedback that you're getting or based on new priorities, as long as everyone is moving in the same direction, as long as there's some kind of unified mission, even if it may be evolving, I think that's a great way for everyone to be on the same page, and it's really important for any kind of project to prioritize on. I'm also wondering. Oh yeah, go ahead, Pavel.
Yeah, I also find it really, really cool that the transparency, the shared sense of ownership, and mission. It sounds a lot like how blockchain projects, like such blockchains themselves are known for that you essentially you can see the transactions, you have that ownership of it, the keys, and then also the mission towards progressive decentralization, and I think that also embodies that culture of openness and
That's a
trying new
very good
things.
point. I should use this next time. I didn't connect this at all. This is a very good point.
Yeah, but really cool to hear it in action.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, Pavel. I didn't even realize that connecting like general blockchains with just the team. I feel like since we are advocating for all of these kinds of features like openness, like transparency within blockchain systems, we should also embrace those within our own teams. So that's a really good point that you brought up. Also, Ines, I'm wondering, yeah, like just because you have so much experience as a multi-time founder in both like Web 2 and in the Web 3 spaces, I'm wondering how building a startup in the Web 3 space compares to that in the Web 2 space in terms of challenges, in terms of your priorities, your values, the types of users that you try to target. I'm wondering if you could speak about the key differences there and maybe some challenges that are unique to Web 3.
I think in making a startup, it doesn't really matter is it Web 2 or Web 3. I think the biggest difference is the market share, let's say, and the target audience. Users are very important in both, but in Web 3, users are very, very limited, right? And that's again user experience, etc., where we should be heading. But at this point, the market kind of is very limited to a certain pool of users that can use something that we defined. That can use blockchain. Something that we defined recently is that we should build stuff for users that do not want to know what's blockchain, right? They just want to log in and that's it. And then that's on the side you have a button that says experience or something like someone that's wanna dig more deeper and wanna know what is their private key and wanna see all the information, etc., so that they can actually switch to the account. So kind of creates a space where of building products now you have these very two specific groups, and this is a big challenge. Like for which group do you want to build at the moment? The moment the stronger is the second one, the weaker is the first one, but the pool of the first one is way larger, obviously, than of the second one. So that's kind of, I think, the challenge in Web3. Another challenge in Web3, I would say, is that the pool of, how to say, the pool of builders is very big, right? Of founders, of startups, of companies wanting to fund some startups, etc. And it's very hard as a new startup, especially as I mentioned, being a female founder, to kind of swim through it and gather the right support, right? There is always this question, you're not tech person, you're not you're female, I don't really enjoy going to bars and whatever and stuff. I would rather have an intellectual conversation, and that this kind of, I saw that is kind of a challenge. It is a challenge because people in Web3, we have to understand that most of these people until a couple of years ago were playing games or gamers or programmers, and they have a very specific culture that they brought into blockchain. Nothing wrong with that, but we just need to learn who are these people, right? And how do we communicate with them? How do we empower them? How do we approach them? How do we build any kind of cooperations with them, right? Their brains are wired differently than most of us that are, let's say, on a non-text side. and being founders as well. So I would say that that's a kind of a second challenge in there as building startup that's very specific to Web3. If you're building something in Web2, things are way easier in that sense. Um, there are as many female founders as you want out there, right? Everything's possible. And though that everyone says, hey, this is just an opportunity, it's actually in Web3, it's not. It's just a blocker. And I'm not saying this to complain. I'm rather saying this that we have to kind of have a bigger inclusion of females in Web3, and not necessarily that means that just bring females into Web3 and just let them do whatever they want. No, education, and as treat them as everyone else, right? That's give them at least a chance, right? That's kind of the point. Not do not just let them pass because they are female. I do not advocate for that, but rather really whoever comes, they have to go through this education that we were talking about earlier. So I would say that these are kind of main challenges that I was facing.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely, I think we all need to work towards shaping a culture within this industry that's more inclusive for women, for people of any kind of background, just making it so that like everyone is included, because I feel like that's the main ethos behind blockchains as well, or anyone can participate, anyone can build on it. So definitely should embrace that in the founder space as well. And yeah, I also
sorry for interrupting you. It's not just about female. It's the same about non-tech people, right?
Yeah,
we need people from all industries. Well, it's the same approach. We do have problem of onboarding people that are non-tech people. That's I think that I would define it as that at the end of the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And even like going to different like Web3 based events, a lot of them I feel like are focused on developers, but then where do like people from like non-technical people come in, like the marketers, the BD, the non-technical founders? They're just equally as important, but I feel like we should put more emphasis on all of these roles, because like the only way where we can drive forward is for everyone from all these kinds of like specialized roles to work together, not just from like the technical developer standpoint. And yeah, really also
totally agree. Yeah.
Keeps things more balanced and open for more discussions that would lead to better decisions being made. Because if we just target like this very small group of users, you know, that's essentially who that's going to be in the future, rather than integrating it into all forms. I think like e-commerce and all of that have really pushed people into these Amazons or Shopify, or like, and then a lot of the transactions are done online.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, and then
that's a very good point. I think at the moment when we stop educating, let's say if we take marketing agencies, well, the moment when we see marketing agencies start building products, then we will know we succeeded, because in every era of internet development, with marketing agencies start building their own products and digital products, then we know that the actually the internet era succeeded.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like the instead of just the infrastructure, now you have the actual apps that are there for the users and not just for the developers to come in and build on top of. Now you can have these robust applications. But you definitely, I think we're again progressively getting to the app phase, but the infrastructure is like critical, and then eventually there's going to be like a tipping point where you'll get the marketing firms creating the apps, and then now.
Definitely very excited to get to that point where we'll have all different users get to be onboarded, especially in the ZK space, because conventionally it was like, oh, you need to have a very heavy math and cryptography background to understand ZK and to be involved in this space. But I really like the progression where now, like with your mission, Ines, just in a couple of clicks, you can build an application. And I feel like having that is very important for targeting that audience that you mentioned about wanting, like those who want to build but don't necessarily want to go through the huge learning curve that's involved with understanding all of like the underlying primitives, understanding all the nuances involved in like in just blockchain in
Let's
general.
be honest, nobody wants to go through
Nobody
the
wants to go
huge
through that.
learning curve.
Yeah,
It feels
exactly.
like today nobody has time for that. So I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is like a perfect also entry point for people to like migrate from Web 2 to Web 3 and like or like capturing that Web 2 market as well. So yeah, really, really great points, Ines. And just as a last question before we close the discussion for today, for anyone who's like interested in the audience and wants to get engaged more, how can those interested parties get involved with txFusion?
They can join our Discord. We are also present on X or Twitter. We will answer anywhere. So Twitter or Discord is usually the place to go.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, and thank you so much, Ines, for joining us today. Definitely a lot of great insights on not just txFusion and ZK, but also scoping out as a whole with cooperation, with capturing target audiences, which I think is applicable to really any startup in any space. So really appreciate those insights from there.